What's up, Jayhawks? Good afternoon, and welcome back to this week's episode of Rock Chalk Replay. I'm your host, Andrew Lind. This past weekend, there were many eventful games and surprising wins and losses from around Kansas athletics as well as the NFL and MLB. On today's show, Kristen Howell recaps scores from women's KU sports. Emma Lionetti gives us the inside look into late night in the fog and what fans can expect. And Jordan Ziegler and Lily Brewington break down potential playoff picture and postseason awards. And I take you inside the KU Sailing Club. And finally, Jalen Colvin gives us a Big 12 football update. We got a packed show for you, so stay right there, and we'll be back in a second. First, we head to Kristen for a recap of Kansas sports, women's edition.
Thank you, Andrew. The fall season of softball is underway, and the Jayhawks played the Wichita State Shockers on Saturday. Although they fought hard, the Jayhawks lost 5-1. The next game will be in Lawrence as they take on McCook Community College on Wednesday. The women's tennis team was split in two locations this weekend, with some members of the team in Tulsa and others in North Carolina competing in the last of their split invitationals. The tennis team will be back in action October 2nd at the ITA All-American Championships. KU soccer fell to TCU in their Big 12 conference opener last Saturday. Yesterday at Oklahoma State, with the Jayhawks losing 3-1, their next game is the Sunflower Showdown against K-State on Thursday. Kansas volleyball started Big 12 conference play this weekend. The Jayhawks went to Texas Tech, winning both games in a tough 5-set matches, coming back on Saturday after losing the first two sets. The Jayhawks' next game series is against Iowa State on Friday. The women's rowing team will get their season started this weekend at the head of the Oklahoma meet. KU's women cross-country team will be racing in the Gaines Creek Classic on Friday at Mizzou. The women's golf team is currently competing in the Golf Week Conference Challenge as they continue to play and get their season underway. After the break, Emma Lionetti will give us a preview for this Friday's Late Night at the Fog.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Welcome back. KU Athletics will host its 37th annual Late Night in the Fog in Allen Fieldhouse this Friday, October 1st. 16,300 fans will pack Allen Fieldhouse and get a sneak preview of what KU men's and women's basketball has to offer this year. KU's pep band, spirit squad, and dance team will also perform in front of the crowd. However, they won't be the only ones showing off their talent, as KU men's and women's basketball show off their own dance moves and lip-syncing abilities. Prior to the evening, the Fog Fest will start on the lawn in front of Allen Fieldhouse. Fog Fest includes food trucks, giveaways, and other activities to kick off the start of the 2021-2022 Kansas basketball season. Fans will get a glance into the season with intra-squad scrimmages, introductions to our newest Jayhawks, and so much more. Following the Jayhawks' performances, Grammy Award-winning Run DMC will take the court and close the night with their performance. KU basketball will officially start on November 3rd as our Jayhawks welcome Emporia State to the field house. Andrew, back to you.
Thanks, Emma. I am definitely ready to be back inside Allen Fieldhouse. It's not even October, and I'm already ready for the season. In other news, though, KU Sailing Club was back on their home water at Perry Lake over the weekend for some friendly Big 12 conference action alongside Colorado Boulder, Nebraska Lincoln, and Kansas State. However, club members explained to me that the competition hasn't been this season's focus. It has been about consistently growing as individuals and as a unit. Here's more.
All clear!
For many Kansans, sailing does not come to mind as the average weekend adventure, but for the KU Sailing Club, it is the only thing that comes to mind.
As one of the captains, I am really hoping to build a strong sailing team here. We want to go out and compete more. We want to host more events here like the one that we're doing today.
Although Captain Emma Russin looks to host and compete in more events, a lot of skill comes with that. And she says building structure is one of her main goals for this season.
So we're doing a lot more structure in our practices is kind of the first thing. Why now? Because it was like the last 2 years I've done it. It seemed like I was coming here and not really learning anything. And like for me, part of going and doing an extracurricular is learning. And sailing can be a really good lifetime skill.
And with structure comes the importance of communication, because club president Sydney Van Meerhage says nothing happens without it.
Communication is key when it comes to sailing, because if you're not telling your crewmate what you're doing, then you have no communication. Your boat is not going anywhere.
And on top of that is reinforcing the idea that you have your crewmates back, because you never know if something is going to go wrong. And Sydney speaks to that.
When you have that communication with your partner, there's an understanding that like you have each other's back. And when my partner went overboard today, like I definitely had to go back and get him, and he had to work with me in order to get back on the boat and continue racing.
Reporting for RockChalkReplay, I'm Andrew Lind. Now, both Sydney and Emma told me that they are actively looking for new members, so if any KU students are interested, you are encouraged to follow KU Sailing on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Now we head to commercial break, but after Jordan and Lily preview the MLB postseason. Stay tuned.
I'm Jordan Ziegler, and I'm joined by Lily Brewington. Today we will be looking into the MLB playoff race and awards race with only about a week left in the season.
In the AL East, the Rays of Tampa Bay have clinched their playoff spot already. They have also won the AL East and are looking to be the top seed in the AL playoff in about a week and a half. Meanwhile, the Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays are in a three-way battle for the final wildcard spots in the playoffs. They are all within 3 games of each other. It will be fun to see who can make it to the playoffs through the wild card out of these 3 teams.
The American League Central is a done deal already. To nobody's surprise, the White Sox have won the division. The White Sox have led the division pretty much all year and will most likely be the 3 seed heading into the American League side of the playoff bracket.
In the AL West, the Houston Astros have a 6-game lead over the Mariners and the Athletics. The Astros are very close to finishing off the division and punching their ticket to the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Mariners and the Athletics are fighting for a wild card spot in the American League. We will see soon enough if the Astros can finish the job.
The American League wildcard race is a 4-way battle right now between the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, Seattle Mariners, and Toronto Blue Jays. The Sox and Yankees currently hold the 2 wildcard spots, but they are by no means safe. As of right now, the Mariners have won 7 out of 8 games and are only 2 games out of the final wildcard spot. The Blue Jays are only a game back but have been struggling recently. The main storyline is if the Mariners can make the playoffs. It'll be the first time in the playoffs since 2001, breaking the longest current drought in sports.
The race for MVP in the AL is heating up for this last week. Shohei Ohtani of the Angels is continuing his historic season as both home run leader and pitcher. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Blue Jays is close in second, but who knows how long Ohtani's lead can last. It will be a fun finish for the MVP race, that's for sure.
The National League East was supposed to be one of the toughest divisions in baseball. That was not the case this year, but we still have an exciting division race between the Braves and Phillies to end the year. The Braves currently lead the division, but only by 2.5 games, with the Phillies hot on their tail and a big series between the two teams coming up. If you're like me and wondering what happened to the Mets, I honestly could not tell you.
With the season nearing its end, the race for the NL Central is still not over. With the Brewers have clinched a playoff spot, they still have not claimed the division yet. The Cardinals are on a 15-game winning streak and are catching the Brewers. We will have to see if the Cardinals can pull it off, but it would be a miracle because the Brewers are 7 games ahead of St. Louis. Now, Jordan, what is going on in San Francisco with the Giants?
The final division race to keep track of is the National League West between the Dodgers, of course, and the Giants. Yes, none of us can explain how the San Francisco Giants, who were projected at about 70 wins, now lead the West and have won over 100 games. I can't tell if I'm more surprised by the Giants leading the division by a game or the fact the Padres are eliminated from playoff contention. The Padres have one of the most talented rosters in the league and were considered World Series contenders. Now we won't even see them playing in October. The Wild Wild West will yield a wildcard team. So Lily, tell us about the NL wildcard.
Thanks, Jordan. The NL wildcard race is heating up as we head into the final 8 days of the season. The Dodgers have sole control of the first wildcard spot as they are battling the Giants for the NFL West. Meanwhile, for the second wildcard spot, the Cardinals are currently on a 13-game winning streak and have that spot claimed for the moment. The Phillies, the Reds, and the Padres are fighting for that last playoff spot with the Cardinals, but time is running out for all of those teams. We will have to see how the race finishes off this week. Jordan, let's talk about another race in the NL, the MVP race.
To wrap up the show, we talk about the NL awards races, starting with the MVP. The race is between former MVP Bryce Harper and young shortstop Fernando Tatis. When it comes to the Cy Young, the Dodgers have 2 of the top candidates in their pitching rotation. Between Max Scherzer and Walker Buehler, Kevin Gausman of the Giants was in the running but has fallen off recently, and Jacob deGrom of the Mets is injured. Finally, the NL Rookie of the Year is shaping up to be Jonathan India of the Cincinnati Reds.
After this short break, Jalen Colvin will recap Big 12 football and some unfortunate news about KU football.
Some unfortunate news from last week. Running back Velton Gardner announced he is leaving the program and going into the transfer portal. The junior from Dallas joined the team in 2019. He had the opportunity to start in 2 games and was KU's leading rusher with an average of 4.2 yards per carry, scoring 2 touchdowns this past season. Though he started each game this season, he only carried a combined 27 carries in the past 3 games. Now being in the transfer portal, he could potentially redshirt this season and still have 2 years of eligibility remaining to play. The big question, though, is what does this mean for the Jayhawks? Gardner is one of now 3 running backs who have decided to depart from the Jayhawks over the past 3 seasons. Puka Williams, who led the Jayhawks in rushing yards in 2018 and 19, has decided to leave the Jayhawks for family reasons before declaring for the NFL draft last year. Khalil Herbert departed from the program after running for 384 yards during the 2019 season. Then he transferred to Virginia Tech and ran for 1,183 yards with 8 touchdowns last season and was drafted to the Chicago Bears in the 6th round. Losing running backs for KU's football team is beginning to be a trend for the Jayhawks. Hopefully, this can change under new head coach Lance Leipold. Now looking into Big 12 football from this past weekend. KU football traveled down to North Carolina to take on the Blue Devils. Unfortunately, Kansas couldn't pull off a win and came home with yet another loss. The first half was close between both teams, with the Jayhawks leading 24-21 at half. In the second half, the Jayhawks couldn't keep the Blue Devils from scoring a 4-yard touchdown run by redshirt sophomore running back Jordan Waters. This was the first of 3 consecutive scoring drives for the Blue Devils. Kansas offense continued to struggle until Kwame Lassiter scored a 61-yard touchdown. Unfortunately for the Jayhawks, they couldn't keep up with the Blue Devils' offense output, resulting in a 53-32 loss. KU is now 1-3 on the season. Carrying on, Texas and Texas Tech faced off for an in-state rivalry. Tech's defense was no match for Texas's offense, as they couldn't keep the Longhorns out of the end zone. Quarterback Casey Thompson accounted for 6 touchdowns, 303 passing yards, and 1 interception. The Longhorns blew out Tech with a final score of 70-35. K-State traveled down to Oklahoma State as the Wildcats were handed their first loss of the season. K-State had a field goal to start off the game, but the Cowboys were just too strong for the K-State's defense. With the Cowboys taking a 31-13 lead going into half, K-State tried to come back in the second half, but scored only 1 touchdown in the second half. Oklahoma took the crown with a 31-20 victory. With that update, I send it back to you, Andrew.
Thanks for the Big 12 update, Jalen, and thank you all for tuning into this week's show. Catch us right back here next Monday at 12:30 p.m. as we break down KU football's match with Iowa State, take a look back at late night, and much, much more. Until then, stay safe and rock chalk, Jayhawks.